in the lecture hall, as well as all the virtual audience on the in the cyberspace. Good evening, and I don't know where you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whichever works for you. And from the warm welcome, as well as the last an hour or so, how I've been warmly welcomed. It feels I never left IIT, right? Even though I was here almost, I have to now disclose my age, right? So I was here literally 35 years ago. It was a long, long time ago. But it feels the way you engage me the moment I entered. It feels I never left IIT. Absolutely. So it is a privilege to deliver this lecture, Guru Talk inaugural Guru Talk, as well as IITMAA Thought Leadership Council, where I'm a member, working with all other eminent personalities in sharing our experiences, insights, or what you call our own biases. So that's life. No human being is actually free. We already have a constructed software in our body and mind. So we express what we probably assimilate, synthesize, and project it as our understanding. So today I will make an attempt to share with you what I believe circular economy sustainability. Yeah. Okay. Can I get the slides? Yeah. Okay. Today my lecture is about. Okay, it's coming. Yeah. So it's about opportunities in emerging net zero circular economy, net zero circular economy work. These two words that are out there, net zero circular economy, somewhat relatively new words. Net zero itself agreed upon by Indian government only a few months ago. So circular economy concept is also relatively new, but I fundamentally believe it is very central and useful for the future of India as well as the rest of the world and humanity. So in the next 40 minutes, I intend to take you through what I found, things I've been already engaged deeply, and I hope those that are listening here on the internet, you find something interesting. Allow me to introduce just a couple of minutes about where I am right now. Of course, I'm in IIT Madras. What I mean is where I'm working and which country, which city, which university. So that's Singapore. That's the latest image. If you had visited Singapore 10 years ago, I think you had to come back again. So it's changed quite a lot. It's beautiful. And like other countries, Singapore does an excellent marketing. So that's an artificial AI virtual influencer. So she basically markets Singapore to the world. Can you imagine? So they're integrating all the new ideas and popularizing in meta space and everywhere. So it's very enticing to people that wanted to do something and want to visit some new places. It becomes automatically in their bucket list. Yeah, that's good. So it is nice. So this is a photo I have taken. So that means it's real. So it's not a virtual influencer image, the one I took personally. So you can believe me because I'm standing in front of you. I'm a real person. I'm not a virtual person. It's really fun. Okay, that's my university where I'm working. It's called National University of Singapore. Professor Sampath visited, I think, a few years ago. And we're very good in the world. 10 in 16 subjects. So it's very incredible. Of course, IIT Madras itself is a very well-known institution. So I'm proud to be educated, got education from here, and now working in another world-class institution. And again, to prove that I'm working there, I took the photo with my student. So I am working, right? Because sometimes people do ask me, are you really working or are you just roaming around? So I need to produce some proofs. Yes, I am really working. So you can see I'm there, right there. I'm one of the most influential scientists, as I was introduced in National University of Singapore, as well as the world. And because of these things, we get ranked very highly. So we're now top 11 in the world. It's quite remarkable because we have 50,000 students in this university. So when you have other top universities like MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, they only have 10,000 students. So with 50,000 students, reaching top 20 is remarkable. And sometimes people have a question about what is so important about ranking. It has value. For example, UK government recently said, if you are from the top 50 universities in the world from Singapore, you can actually come to UK. So a lot of young people like that possibility. So they can go there and they can look for opportunities. So the value of having a ranking has its own purpose. It doesn't mean everything, but it has its own purpose. So it's one example. So why we get such high ranking? Of course, these are the statistics. If you are interested, these are available in the websites. Plus, my own slides will be made available to you through the organizers of this seminar, and you can check those slides. Now, coming to the topic, and I also want to relate to India, Niti Aayog recently has been releasing information how India is performing in sustainability. So you could see Niti Aayog says United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, India is doing pretty well. So that means India is progressing in this direction. Can you help me push? Okay, let's little fun. So you think sustainability is new to India? I don't think so. Actually, if you look at our villages, communities, they're pretty much actually self-sustaining, highly sustainable circular economy. I was in a nice hotel in Delhi before I came here. And those are the slippers actually I saw in the hotel where we were given to use. It reminded me similar slippers actually I was using many years ago. But fundamentally, we were living a sustainable way. Along the way, we started using plastics. Of course, these students are doing research on plastic. That's fine, good for you. You have a topic to do research. So we moved away from conventional, natural, coir, all kinds of materials to plastics. And that led to another problem. So where the world is now trying to solve that problem by revisiting some of the old practices. So when I saw this in Grand Hyatt, Andaz, I thought it was very nice. Previously, same hotels, they used to give me plastic slippers. Now they're giving me this. So I said, I can't take it away because they may have a barcode and there is a scanner, right? And I'm checking out bus. This guy is taking something. So I didn't want to do that. So I just took a picture. And I said, yeah. So, and of course, I said, I wear that and take a picture for you to confirm they are actually replaced completely. Where? This is in India, right? So this is a top hotel. I'm sure many places in India this can be done very easily. So in other words, India has a huge potential and opportunity to make a difference in the world, emerging world. So I'm going to build up that. What is emerging world? Well, last 75 years, India progressed very well. Evidence is here. You're all smiling, I'm smiling. We're happy. So we progressed. The question is, should we stop here or should we progress further? Answer is yes. So I actually took another picture. It says 75th year celebrate. This is today is the 75th year this year. And then this is in Amritsar. I was there last week, so I took this nice picture on the mural. And I said, next 75 years is going to be even brighter. And especially all the young folks that you are beginning your future, there's a lot you can do. You're going to live up to 100 anyway. So you must be in your 20s. You got another 75 years to aspire something and contribute. Okay, now back to the topic. I know Papia and they're all worried. This guy is just telling stories and he's going to talk about the subject. So I need to explain the subject. Otherwise, they may not let me go back. Yeah. So net zero circular economy, a life without pollution. Net zero, I'm talking about net zero, life without pollution. Apparently, if we didn't have the current pollution, we all would be living 5 years longer. So that's clear evidence of why sustainability or net zero is important. Here is the another WHO report, which says mental illness is associated with pollution. And we actually see that in many countries, and it's a serious issue. The other one, India always projected as a young population. It's not quite so. There's, there's a slowly demographic shift is happening. There's the aging population is also there. So we have to be more mindful of the influence of pollution on the aging population as well as newly born people. It's very important. That's why it becomes very necessary for India to grow in a sustainable way. So to give you the bigger snapshot, all the countries that committed or pledged carbon neutrality, what it means is the total greenhouse gas emissions caused by human activities would be net zero. So these countries say either by 2050 or 2070, we will make sure within our country, greenhouse gas emissions would be net zero. That's a huge statement. It's not so easy to do, but it's good that governments have actually committed. So that sets the direction and policy as well as investments. So already you see many companies are moving towards dealing with emissions associated with energy. So here is the energy related emissions. Many countries slowly switching to renewables, which are primarily solar energy, wind energy, in some cases hydro energy, and geothermal. It's also possible to enhance energy efficiency. For example, the light bulbs here, they're obviously much more efficient compared to the previous. When I was in IIT long time ago, they were completely different kind of bulbs. Yeah. So it's already improved. So it's an energy efficiency measure already undertaken by IIT Madras. So that's one thing, but there are a lot of other things one could do. How you do the cooling, buildings, building materials, construction, design, retrofitting, everything. So there's lots of growth happening in this direction. Okay, these are details because those who are falling in this direction, most companies have now report their emission profiles, what they call scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. If, for example, a company like Apple, they actually declare their scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions, and they take the measures how to reduce them. So why I give the example of Apple is Apple is about $1 trillion company. That is almost one third of the India's GDP, which is $3 trillion. So it's a massive. So imagine a few companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, commenting like that. So there is a fundamental shift is happening in the industrial. So these are details what we call environmental social governance. I'm one of the trainer in Singapore among the Singapore Institute of Directors. Basically, I chair the committee. All the listed companies in Singapore have to produce ESG report. So if you look at the markets like Singapore, London, New York, most companies now report ESG performance. So investors, the trillions of dollars are actually made based on these criteria. So this is the fundamental shift that's happening in the world markets. So now when the big companies move, this has an impact on everybody else, the supply chain. The small companies, medium-sized enterprises, they are actually providing services, products to the bigger companies. For example, Johnson and Johnson supplies your product. Most likely, it is actually made by somebody else. They still control the quality, they control the right products, they package it, brand it, and they market it. But the real suppliers, manufacturers are different. They're their subsidiaries. So when GSK or Johnson Johnson says, I'm going to be environmentally sustainable, slowly that will cascade all other suppliers, the value chain, supply chain. So here is an example. In Ivory Coast, they're producing palm oil-based palm oil from the plantation. And that goes into your soaps, many other household items, Unilever products based on palm oil. So obviously, when Unilever announces we will be carbon neutral, they're expecting these farmers, other intermediary to be much more sustainable. So this is how the big decisions slowly cascade down and impact the future markets, future job opportunities, future enterprise opportunities. So these are the details. Okay. But as these governments and the companies are pledging, there is also criticism. You are inflating the claims. You are not necessarily completely carbon neutral, what you say. So here is the Qatar, they announced there would be football that would be carbon neutral. There's already questions about that. HSBC has been flagged by the UK government because that their ES sustainability pledges and what they actually do does not correlate. Right below, Deutsche Bank, which is a very large bank, the CEO of Deutsche Bank has to resign because they overclaimed their performance. Exactly. What it means is going forward, you all have a job because when somebody claims something, you have a deeper understanding. You could actually contribute, question, make the system even better. Yeah, that's it. So here is an example. There's a lot of information out there where people say, I'm planting a small tree or maybe 1,000 trees or 1,000,000 trees, and they claim they're already helping the environment. Not necessary. It also depends how long those trees are around, what happens to those trees, how are you taking care of them, do they really absorb CO2 that need to be analyzed. Yeah, so what we call greenwashing, and we train companies and organizations not to do the greenwashing. So we guide them in Singapore, but that can be done in India too. Now, coming to circular economy, this debate is not new. It has started 50 years ago, what they call Club of Rome. Just like IITMAA Thought Leadership Council. 50 years ago in Rome, a rich man invited all the intellectuals, whoever he can find. They convened in Rome. It's called Club of Rome. And they were asked a question. Current mode of consumption, current way of growth, is it sustainable? And they all concluded it is not sustainable because planet Earth has limited resources. And obviously their message at that time is quite critical, central. That's exactly what the world is talking about now. So that's a projection by United Nations. If you look at the resources consumption, and with the time, planet Earth unable to provide the resources needed for growing consumption and a growing population. That's the message. So that also has an impact on biodiversity because with consumption, we generate waste. We also disturb the natural ecosystem. We disturb the biodiversity. That actually impacts overall quality of life and also continuity of life. So that has position. So Ideal scenario going forward, we should have a better resource management. That means the circular economy concepts. And so the world will be better. So this is the direction United Nations Environment Program is pushing all the countries to follow. More than 150 countries are agreeing to go in this direction. That includes India. Biggest clear evidence is 3 months ago in Nairobi, most countries said they would set the limits to the production. That means how much materials are produced would be limited in the country. So that means in the future, we have to redesign products, processes, services totally different. So this is how it is heading. Okay, so these are definitions. Circular economy, I'm part of the ISO committee, 59020. We finalized the draft. It would be released to the world in the coming weeks. That's a definition of circular economy as per our standard, ISO standard. An economic system that uses a systematic approach to maintain a circular flow of resources by regenerating, retaining, or adding their value while contributing to the sustainable development. So that's basically the broad definition. So based on the circular economy definition, one could now think about, these are the details. One could think about material side, product design, manufacturing, the way it is used, the way repair, reuse is done, end of life management. All that could have this consideration of circular economy. So those are the details. Okay. Best is to give you an example. So human beings cannot function without time, right? So this is a timepiece, Swiss made, and they claim close to 99% of the material used in this watch are recycled. And watch is very complex, very precise. They need to function a long time. And especially when your grandmother or grandfather gives you, it's even becomes more important, right? It comes with emotion. So it's not so easy to say just a watch. It's a watch with a heart. So obviously it has to function beyond one lifetime. So imagine how should be the quality of recycled material. It's not easy. So this company says we got 99% recycled material. To me, it's a fantastic example. But one could imagine this in many, many sectors. That's the emerging future. So Coca-Cola says in the next 5, 10 years in India, all the bottles would be recycled plastic. That's what they claim, right? So, and that Coca-Cola company alone would be using billions of bottles. It's not one or two or a million, billions. So imagine the impact on the manufacturing, product utilization, end of life management. There's a total rethinking. So these, of course, companies like McKinsey, E&Y, they project which sectors of economy there would be opportunities and investments. Of course, covers electrification of transport, agriculture, power grid, hydrogen. India is going big way. As far as I know, Reliance, Adani groups building a massive capacity for hydrogen generation. So they foresee themselves positioning for a hydrogen economy. Hydrogen for running, basically providing power or energy needed by different industries. That's a fundamental shift because these companies are huge, large companies of India. Right? So obviously, the direction is set. Is the question of speed and the scale. So if you're a scientist and you're not bothered about the commercial world, you still need to know what's happening in the scientific world. So this using keywords, if I search it, the number of papers and articles in this field is growing. Of course, I set up a journal. I'm the chief editor for Material Circular Economy. So we are slowly seeing interest in this direction. So what I'm going to do is, this subject is very vast, very wide. And before I came here, they asked me, Professor, how come you're able to cover so many topics? Because the nature of the research I do now, circular economy covers in so many broad areas. That's why I have no choice but to see how much I can understand different fields and integrate them. Since the time is only 40 minutes, I have chosen these three topics, very relevant to Indian context, because most widely used sectors. In a fast forward way, I will explain some examples. After that, we have more time for Q&A. Okay, textiles. Again, I have to wake you up because it's evening. I know we didn't provide you coffee, neither I have a coffee. I may be sleepy or sleepy, right? So I need to put some picture like that. Can you recognize me there? I'm not Gandhi, sorry, the other side. Even though we have the same hairstyle, but I'm not Gandhi, right? So this eminent person on the other side. That's I took it actually a couple of days ago in Jalandhar. I went for there is a Haveli, so it's very nice to see how they are recreating. Everything in Haveli is actually natural, sustainable, and of course they're demonstrating how a textile made. Okay, so there was a surveys done by Lakme Fashion. They say that the current generation willing to pay a little more extra if the textiles are more sustainable. So generally the trend is going that direction. So if you notice that sustainable textiles, a lot of things are designed integrated in India, but the source material is coming from Austria, the recycled fiber. So that's again. Why? Because recycled fiber requires a lot more innovation and technology. Companies like Reliance and others might be doing some level of work, but there's a huge opportunity if you're like IIT, Madras engineers. There's a huge opportunity to come up with how do you recycle waste plastic into textile fibers? How do you make them suitable for textile? And, so just the details. Basically, main point here is textile consumption is growing, but amount of textiles that are recycled is less than 5%. That means 95% textile is ending up in the landfill or getting burnt. That's it, 95%. So these are the details. Textiles is one of the most polluting industry. Takes lots of water and also emits. You see the number. As I said, this is the global numbers. Very small number actually gets recycled. Textiles. There's no human being without textile, right? Because we call that a part of civilization. So obviously we can't separate ourselves from the textile. But then these textiles waste is building up mountain. So these are the numbers. And what I want to show you is an interesting one. Look at China. Previously, the China, which is the red one, 20 years ago, they use a, a garment. If they buy it, they use at least 200 times once they buy. Now, going for up 20 years, they're only using 60 times. So fast forward another 10 years, they probably will use it 10 times or probably one time. Within one or two generations, huge change must happen. Why I say China? Because there's 1.4 billion people. That's a lot. So that's what is happening in the world. Previously, that's different. Now the fast fashion made the whole textile industry different. That's contributing large quantity of waste. That's creating the problem. So these are the details. I just want to show you that these studies are done quite detailed, and then you can see which part of the textile manufacturing, which countries are more active. Fiber production, China. Yarn fabric, China. Textile production, China and Bangladesh, our neighboring country. Consumption, European and American. So with more details, I will just go fast forward so that you know. Basically, idea is to tell you I done my homework. I did hard work. Have a pity face on me. Okay, this guy worked hard. Yeah. Okay, that's it. So that's the detail. So one way to address, understand this is basically what we call life cycle analysis. So here is a t-shirt and a jeans, and we can actually analyze how much water consumption, how much resource consumption, what kind of emissions are associated. So these tools are available. A company that is involved in making textile, they can easily compute. So if, for example, a company like Zara, Uniqlo, they can do it, and they do it. Then they decide how they want to revise their supply chain. That's where Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they're all part of the value chain. So they are getting affected. So that's the point. So these are the details, and there are more details, more details, more details. So along this life cycle thinking, sustainability, there's a new standards and testing organizations, qualification organizations that emerging. So should you decide to have opportunities, you could easily learn how to do the validation. And then you could be actually become an expert and become a consultant. And you can go around the world easily because world needs consultants. So this is a good area if you decide to have wheels on your shoe. It's a good topic. Okay, so these are the details. Okay, I won't go into the detail. And can I show myself? Okay. So last month I was in Manchester Fashion Institute giving a lecture about sustainability of textiles and fashion. And then they said, Professor, come to this side. Then they said, wear this one. So I removed my jacket and wore their jacket. So basically, they made this jacket made of tree bark completely. Of course, I'm putting a challenge for IITMAA. Can you come up with maybe a neem tree jacket? Maybe you never know. It's possible. So it's very interesting to see they're taking the bark and they processed it, pressed it, made a jacket. I wore it, but it's nice. But they only made one. I can't take it. Right? If they had 100, probably I would have paid for one. This is just a demo one, I think. Maybe in the future that will be made available. Okay, so you have the sustainable leather that's from mushrooms. That's the example. I think the best is I give you the real ones, which you're all wearing sometimes. Adidas shoe, Nike. The Adidas shoe, now they say with the recycled materials, carbon footprint is reduced from 14 kilograms to 3 kilograms. They actually use that information for marketing. So in other words, it's a large shoe manufacturing company doing that. So that tells you where the market is going. So like that, you have a Uniqlo doing the same thing as others. And there's one more reason why this is important. Most of the polymers we are using, they have a lot of additives. Some of the additives are harmful. There are more than 100 chemicals known to be hazardous. So there's a lot of research is going on how to replace them with a better environmentally benign and human health friendly chemicals. This is where BASF, DuPont, these companies are. So these are details. One could look at the proteases which we are working on. These are for you. And then we also design sustainable women-related products. This is NGO I work with in South Africa. It's quite successful, and they have even during COVID time they actually grown a lot. So after this, actually, I'll be going to South Africa. I'm just saying why I go there because we are helping this kind of NGOs, companies to be more sustainable. Yeah. So one could imagine the future textiles. There's a lot of nature-based materials. This is my collaborator with Taiwan. They make these certain naturally available minerals. They add it to the fibers and make these fabrics cooler. That means you don't need to have such a strong air conditioning. So it cools the body by 2 degrees centigrade. So that's that. So these are examples. This is in the market. These products are. Okay, so now we go towards I will not spend time. I picked up this one. India is the third largest producer of plastic waste in the world. Of course, US and Europe, they are big, but India is catching up. So per capita waste generation is lower, but overall, waste generation is high. So that's why this is the problem. That polluted canal in Delhi, single-use plastic. They started banning single-use plastics in India. So imagine why you need to come up with alternative materials. If you remember, unlike me, if you have a long memory, better memory, because I have a zero memory, right? So about the beginning, I showed you slippers, right? They're not plastic, so they're much more environmentally friendly. So you can imagine many of the single-use plastics replaced with the natural bio-based materials. It's a lot of innovation. Okay, so these are the details. I won't go into detail. Okay, these are the companies we work in Singapore. I mentor them in recycle. Then I go to the food, and then after the housing, then I land there. So this Singapore is a small country with a 6 million population. We import all the food from outside, including mostly the water also. So because of geopolitics as well as COVID-19, recently our neighboring country, Malaysia, said, we cannot send you the chickens. You know, in India, chicken, okay, you can substitute with something else, like maybe different vegetarian food. But in Singapore, 70% of the people are Chinese, and they got used to chicken rice. So they can't imagine a day passing by without a chicken rice. So suddenly there's no chicken. So it's a big, issue. So the government was a bit concerned, but the solution is in the vegetarian butcher. It's a funny title, right? Butcher is opposite to the vegetarian. What do you think? What does it convey? That's it. Yeah. Please give him a prize. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's your day job. That's your bet. So, so it's a plant-based meat and cultured meat, or we call it synthetic meat. This is different from the mock meat. Mock meat traditionally made out of soya bean, tofu, but this is actually cultured in the labs. So it's how industry is moving. We just built a large chicken, synthetic chicken plant in Singapore. So we don't probably need Malaysia anymore. We can feed our people with lab grown chicken. See, we find our independence this way, right? We feel the freedom, don't depend on somebody. So it's completely plant based chicken. This is already in the market. So if you go to restaurants now, you can actually eat them. It's available. Of course, the other guys, professors, students, they have to get their PhDs, they go more innovative. They're taking the waste and trying to make health supplements, plenty of research going on. And one could imagine a coffee waste that going to the flame retardants. For example, in the buildings, they need to have flame retardancy. They're trying to propose coffee waste as a flame retardant. So this is the story how food industry is revolutionizing, becoming more sustainable. Starbucks partners Imagine Meats to sell vegan products. This is India, right? Starbucks is almost expanding every corner of India, and that's a large volume business, and they are tying up with a plant-based meat. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is they're promoting plant-based meat has a lower carbon footprint than the meat that is actually produced from the animals, because animals produce a lot of gases. So that's the reason this is what proposed as one of the solutions. So these are the details. If you're people working in electrical engineering, computer science, you have something to do. You can apply a lot of digitalization in this industry, plenty of things to do, and the blockchain, AI. So these are more details. Of course, I'm a material scientist. When I saw news like that, PM Modi announced opening a plant, nano urea, which is again supposed to be more efficient than the traditional biofertilizer. traditional chemical fertilizer. So the whole idea is you are improving the efficiency, lowering the carbon footprint, improving the sustainability. So if you grow animals and then make the harvest the meat, the issue is the animals also produce lots of gas, methane. Apparently, New Zealand is thinking of taxing that gas. Can you imagine? Right? So they're finding lots of ways to collect the money. So yeah, but it's real because New Zealand has a large agriculture farming. And I last time when I conducted an event, I chaired a panel with the New Zealand Minister on Agriculture. And I actually asked her, yes, they're going to do it. So it's real. Okay, now I get to the housing. Housing, again, very important. So if you design the buildings, construct the buildings more sustainably, you would reduce the what we call life cycle emissions by 60% in the case of India and China. So there's a huge opportunity to reduce the emissions by better methods of building materials, construction, design, repurposing the buildings. So that's a huge opportunity. These are the details. I wouldn't go into the details because there are two kinds of emissions. One is the operational emission, operational carbon. Another is the embodied carbon. That is, the carbon emissions associated with making the building materials. So there are lots of technologies, concepts. In Singapore, we are actually already implementing them. So if you are thinking, if you are in civil engineering, architecture, it's a good area to think about. Many countries are actually going this direction. So these are the details. Wood is coming back. Wood seems to be having a use as a very durable material. So I've seen wood. This is in France, Lorraine, very nice place. So the whole idea is to tell you this guy is a tourist. He doesn't do the work, right? I keep telling that country, this country, just tell you. Actually, there's another reason. Young minds are thinking, how do I make life more interesting and impactful? That's exactly. You work harder, whole world is available for you. You can go there, understand what they're doing, share what you're doing. It's fantastic. You just work hard and make sure your professors are happy. That's fine. Okay, so that's a building they constructed out of wood and in Lorraine, very beautiful. They were showing off actually the whole building built up. So this is how actually we do the city analysis. How sustainable is a city? For example, Chennai. One could systematically analyze, is Chennai sustainable? What is the index? So there's the parameters, what we call green city index. So people do that, and that can be done. And I'm sure many cities in the world are already doing that. On the right side, that's a data center where I'm one of the PI. It's funded by Meta, the Facebook. So digital technologies, the heart of digital technology is the data center. Without that, digital technologies cannot function. So data center is heart. So this is a project, $30 million with Facebook and Meta. We are designing a future data centers which are most energy efficient and sustainable. So we use nanotechnology, that's where I come. So if you are planning to come to Singapore, apart from the sightseeing, you can also visit this green data center in my university. It's quite nice. Okay, this is just details. We are one of the biggest players in the world in data centers. So after Silicon Valley, Singapore is a major data center, huge market. Yeah, so this is how construction, data centers and things are happening. Okay, now we just go to the future, way forward, what needs to be done. According to World Resource Institute and others, they say a lot more job opportunities are coming in this direction. So if you can get yourself a lot more knowledgeable, skilled, and confident about sustainability, ESG, and others, I think there's lots of opportunity for sure. And I looked at the Times of India and other newspapers this week. They're all reporting the similar thing. You notice, are we serious about climate education in schools and colleges? On the right side, they say the steps to be taken in India, India's context, what kind of steps should be taken in the schools and universities to promote sustainability thinking, education, and then make the program. Again, so I'm an author of a UNESCO report on sustainability in higher education. So those are about 15 of us worldwide. We worked together about 18 months, and we produced this report, Knowledge-Driven Action, Transforming Higher Education for Global Sustainability. Essentially, the universities around the world, what should they do so that future generations are prepared for sustainable world, circular world, net zero world. So again, I had to prove, right? I was there. He's not faking and photoshopping. I was there, and yeah. So basically, we released a report in Barcelona about 4 weeks ago. That's the reason I went there. We officially released the UNESCO report. It's very well received, and that's meant for the universities around the world. Okay. And then as we do that, our own university, we practice a lot. And if you are in digital technology, there's a lot of role for digital technologies and circular economy, sustainability. These are the digital technologies. India is very strong in this area. That's why I think India has a traditionally sustainable culture. And you have a digital strength. All we need is combine both and then imagine a future and then change the world and make a better world, basically. So these are the details. For example, European Union is talking about digital passport. And when you sell a product in Europe or you export it, it has to come with a digital passport. It will have a lot of sustainability data. Again, how do you do that? That's a digital technology. So this is a company I work with, Tomra, which is a Norwegian company. They use automatic technologies for sorting textile waste, for example, or they could do the electronic waste. See, they could actually automatic sort. So they have advanced chemistry, imaging technology, digital technologies, and automation integrated. So it's a multidisciplinary. So how system looks like, potential, various technologies there. So one could imagine a combination of digital technology, nanotechnology, industry 4.0, and sustainability can be shaped. So there's more details. One more thing is it is always guided by the policy, what we call extended producer responsibility. I know the students were talking about it. I'm the advisor for Singapore government on the extended producer responsibility. It's a policy instrument using which you guide the industry. You actually shape the waste management in the country. So most countries have the EPR policy, which is very good. And I think that drives the change. So these are the details, how it can be done. And these are analysis we do and more details. So in this case, we call a circular carbon. That means you capture the carbon from the air and then convert that into products or store them. So in this case, we're actually piloting carbon absorption by water, and then water becomes the carbon sink. That's right. So our public utility board in Singapore, that's how it works. So that's the economy. So you're not interested in technology, but you just want to sit in the board. I think not bad. Nowadays, in addition to the diversity, they're also pushing for board members knowledgeable and sustainable. So some of the companies, there is a board seat made available for them. So at least you want to look at, I want to have a corner seat in the corner office, or you want to be in a nice setting. Yeah, it still works. You have an opportunity. Choose your way. You want to be techie, non-techie, or doctor, or whatever. Everybody has a role. That's what I see it. Okay, so some people, integrate technologies, make the plants, speak to them about sustainability, not climate change. Again, integration of technology. This is my last slide. So I picked up from the Times of India, uh, Hardeep Puri, Union Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs and Petroleum and Natural Gas. He says, India's path to prosperity is rooted in sustainability. So obviously, he detailed how it should be done. On the right side, some scholar said that center to us transition to a better sustainable world is a human beings. It's the choice humans make. So as long as the human behavior gets changed, things will happen. So all this, whatever I said, and lots of other stuff, we put them in the books. These are the books written by my co-authors from my laboratory. There are many other books by others, so you are welcome to read other books as well. And the whole idea is to help the current future generations think about it, maybe perhaps take the first step. So with that, I like to appreciate all of you as well as the virtual audience that are sleeping, still listening to me. And all those guys smiling, thanks for the smiles. And IITMAA, without you, of course, I don't exist. So you invited me, I'm here. I'm profoundly happy to be here and thankful to IIT Madras. Shaped my mind. Obviously, I could speak so well. Okay, here I'm complimenting myself. I should not say that. Say I could speak. Yeah. Thank you again. Krishnan, are you there, or who has to prompt the question? Yeah. Okay. Yes, please. Sure. Thank you. Thanks for that really a question based on your own deep involvement. I appreciate that. So I'm a board member of Plastic Recycling Association of Singapore, where several German companies and Singapore companies are involved. Our primary goal is to look at plastics recycling. We are actually now going after PET, which is a large volume single plastic compared to other plastics. What we found is mechanical recycling has reached a stage, it's industrial scale. So it can, technology can be scaled up, it's already scaled up. So we just have to adopt and make sure that plastic recycling plant is viable in economic way. Otherwise, you are subsidizing. So our study suggests mechanical or physical process, what you mentioned, is definitely feasible, which is what we want to do. But we are not satisfied exactly the way you said. That one does not guarantee us to further upcycle or even make the recycled material on par with the virgin material. So that's why you need a chemical recycling. Chemical recycling has not been really scaled up, but pilot plants are running. Yeah. I will push and say the next, actually, after chemical recycling, what we call biological recycling. We use enzymes. Uh, exactly. In our case, we are looking at certain earthworms and then trying to find the enzymes. And you have a sufficient quantities of enzyme. One could look at degrading the plastic, and then later on looking at valorization. So if you are working with some philanthropy guys and philanthropy people, you could tell them biological recycling is really more interesting. Please give us your billions of whatever rupees or crores or dollar, whatever. Tell them a nice story, and it's good. But you're going to the business guys, you start with them physical recycling because they only want money return. They didn't make up their mind, they're willing to take the risk, go for the. So that's basically that. What I see. Sure, sure. Exactly. So guys, the policeman in the US, assume that he's claiming that they take it to the political level and then bring it to what they want to do. But it's not really anywhere you kind of change the mechanical processing. Yeah, if I look at the global volumes, they're not comparable. But chemical recycling definitely has an important role because chemical recycling can handle mixed plastics. So that's the reason. All right. And also multi-layer plastics like packaging. Most packaging, for example, this one, it already have 4 or 5 layers. It's not a single material. So when you have a complex commingled system, chemical recycling is good. So ultimately where the research is going on is, if I can make this from single material rather than multi-material, that's the direction. So the innovators are going that way. They said, okay, I want to deliver same performance, everything, but with one material. So if somebody wants to do innovative work, I would think go after the single material, you make the whole product and give the same performance as a multi-material system. That'll be fantastic. So people are pursuing that also. Thank you for that question.
Seeram Krishnan here. Can I?
And you see, like, especially economic growth and products to use household. The repair and maintenance costs are increasing. It is sometimes cheaper for you to buy a new product than to repair and reuse. This is one example. Even with your own household goods like washing machine, your other utensils that you use, your kitchen and everything. How much is there a mechanism to track reusability, right? Including if you take an Apple phone, every time there's a new release, another purchase a new phone, do we create an organization in the way we support reuse? And how can that be? Because in India, that's traditionally one of the things that we really take pride for, because faster generation, right? You know, where does reusability come metrics and how do organizations use it?
Always a simple questions are the most tricky ones, right? So the moment she says simple question, I understood. I need to wake up even more. I'm looking where is the coffee, but it's not there. It's okay. So yes, maybe let me tell a story. It's actually a real story. A few years ago, I visited a company. I'm a polymer materials guy. So they make the shoe. And so I looked at him, hey, this is a very fantastic work that's going on. He said, yes. And then he started showing, you see, it can come off very easily. I said, why do you design the sole? It just comes off easily. And I said, why did you design that? He said, basically, sir, I want you to buy, whether you use it or not, you're going to keep it at home. After 6 months or a year, I want the sole to come off so that you go back to shopping again. They want you to buy more. This is actually the design. I've seen with my own eyes how the shoe guys manufacturers are doing it. I was appalled, but that's true. So then the second one you raised about all the products right now, they're designed not to be reused or repaired. I heard some countries are now coming up with a right to repair act. So I do not know whether India has that act. If not, I think this is the time to think about and get that act in place. But with the right to repair, then you are changing the industry. The industry has to comply. That's exactly what I meant by EPR, extended producer responsibility. Using the policy tool, I'll explain. EPR just been introduced in Singapore just last year for the electronic waste. How does it work? So everybody use all the electronic products, but the rule says if you are a supplier, distributor, manufacturer of electronic products, and you're selling in Singapore, you must declare how much you are selling in Singapore. And every year you have to tell the government how much you are collecting and recycling. And that will be put on the database, people can verify it. And then there is a charges associated. So this is how we are going to increase the recycling of e-waste. So that's just a policy instrument. So now right to repair is even much more stronger. I think that would help in a fundamental way. For example, many people will get the jobs because they can repair things. The other one, people don't have to spend each time another $1,000, $1,100, right? Each time a new product comes. Yeah. So it depends. Right to repair is very useful, I think. And I think over the last 30 years, manufacturing or product companies somehow gone into that track. I think now that need to be corrected. So I think this is through the policy. After the policy implementation will come, and then eventually the system will change.
Some of the products, making them modular and make it more
That's correct.
furniture, IKEA, that's quite possible.
Correct.
The part goes off, I can still use it. You take that part off.
Exactly. In fact, some of the
Modularity could be one business model.
right. In fact, some companies like the fax machine, not fax machine, Xerox machines, other electronic, they're actually now designing for disassembly and recycling. And Epson, Canon, they're already doing that. So yeah, sure. Yes. Not simple question, right? Okay.
We see that something is made out of very sustainable material, like jute or bamboo or something. And as a consumer, I really fall for it. But little do we realize that that bamboo has been treated so much with chemicals and things before it reaches a product that can be used, right? So in your organization that track some of these materials, how does this footprint come up for things that are severely chemically treated before it becomes sustainable?
Thank you. Single-use plastic has been almost made as a villain in the world, and the plastic bag's been, also been banned in many countries. The wisdom there is they thought the tote bags, cotton bags, they're much better, environmentally friendly than the plastic. Norwegian government did analysis, and they actually found it's not so. In fact, the tote bags, which were promoted by Marcus, I'm not against any company, Mark Spencer, all these guys pushed tote bags. Everybody changed. After that, they suddenly discovered, wow, it's not actually environmentally friendly. So the answer depends on proper life cycle analysis, and that requires a proper understanding. Then the answer will be different. In one slide I rushed through, I showed if you do a centralized recycling versus a distributed recycling, you get a different answer. So now if you have recycling within IIT and then you analyze it, you get a different one. The whole Chennai collects in one place, but you have a transportation, emissions, and lots of other stuff. So that changes the whole result. So what need to, you're absolutely right. One need to be mindful actually what goes in, what is happening. And after that, a good analysis will give you a better solution. So it is not an automatic. Yeah. Actually, I like this. If it is so simple, all these guys will have no jobs. How? It should be complicated. Then they all apply their brains and they say, I can do life cycle thinking. I can give a right analysis, including myself. I'll have a job. Otherwise, what do I teach? Right? They need something to teach. It's not a bad thing to be. I really think so. Yes.
Reasons now from the COVID from the need for that 50% information technology. So, any key thoughts or directions for India in terms of setting trends and this space, which is related to digitization?
Yeah. Thank you. So India is a software powerhouse of the world. So can we make this software more efficient? Right now, let's say somebody is, I don't know, there may be digital guys here, computer scientists. Sometimes they have a code which runs like 10 pages. Can you make it maybe runs on one page? It's the way you design the logic things. That's a simple way to explain. The other one is they all depends on information. So the question is, the information generation uses lots of sources, sensors. They consume energy. Can we make them more energy efficient? And the microprocessors, right now, the Intel processors are not that great. They're brilliant, but not great. There's a huge opportunity to make them much more energy efficient. They call 3D designs, graphic-based designs coming in. So there's a huge opportunity. And also there's a fundamental change applying quantum concepts. Again, but the quantum concepts right now is not energy efficient, but in the future, blockchain also lots of energy takes. AI, everything has a larger carbon footprint. So the direction is to how do we make them much more efficient and energy efficient.
It's also on the software company. So if I had to put a sustainability green tag into my product, the same lines of code, we also use open source.
Right.
Do you think that is there any research to say that open source software does reduce carbon footprint?
I'm not aware, but I need to check that one. I would check with my colleagues who have the better knowledge about that. Open source versus non-open source. I don't have a ready-made answer on that one, but I would think one will be able to find the answer through looking at some of the analysis that is done. Yeah, sure.
I think I'm going to use your number science strategy and
Yeah.
maybe efficiency in server utilization so we are green.
Correct. In fact, I saw now they're using AI to do the server management. So they optimize energy. They use AI and they train the AI with lots of data. After that, it becomes efficient.
So Seeram, one question from the virtual world.
I go with him. Yeah. The gentleman there. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. So first thing is the world is trying to move away from a fossil fuel based energy source, which is basically coal, oil, and gas. So what they have gotten now so far is renewable energy, which is primarily solar, wind, large volume deployment. But both are intermittent. That's why they're heavily dependent on a battery technology. The problem with the battery technology is the resources that you need for batteries, the amount of mining they need to do is quite environmentally questionable. And that battery capacitor, all the volumes are enormously growing. The recycling issues need to be really solved. Because of that backdrop, general feeling is hydrogen is much better than this solution. But they generally consider that as the next solution, hydrogen. Right now, these technologies are mature. That's where the world is moving towards this transitional technology. But ultimately, they're all eyeing for hydrogen. Now, your question is, in the material side, what should we do to improve the hydrogen space? One could look at the catalyst, and because there are three types of hydrogen. You have gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and this new green hydrogen. But green hydrogen right now is more expensive than gray hydrogen. So the goal is to bring down the costs of green hydrogen by 3 times. If we can do that, that's it. Then you get the parity, and then that's commercially viable. That requires innovations and catalysts. The second one is when you are using hydrogen, safety is a concept. You need a proper material that can absorb and release hydrogen on demand. And that should happen at room temperature or the operating temperature generally based on the climate. So I would think that's where the research need to happen from the material side. From the other side, there requires infrastructure development because hydrogen is not readily available. Transporting hydrogen requires the different systems, and the existing vessels, pipelines are not automatically suitable. One need to invest on infrastructure as well. So that's where the transportation systems are being improved with both sides. Yeah, sure. I get some more.
The main focus is the policy so we implement technology on the production space of the transportation.
You for a country like India, you need both. But you are a country like say Singapore, we could choose because 1.3 billion people requires all kinds of policy interventions because you have all industry. Whereas the small economies like Qatar, Singapore, we could choose to focus on a smaller one zone of the value chain. So this is the large country. The answer for large countries will be different, especially India, China, US. It's different. It's not automatically the same answer for the small. So the policy setting you select based on the country scenario. Yeah. Yes.
I have one question. If we think about in the perspective of businessman or even entrepreneur, when you have to think about the sustainability and reaching or how to deal with the cost? Because most of the companies, let's say, if you talk about the area, the cost is high. Their product might be good for environment, but how to influence the customers that need to buy this kind of product? Just like nowadays, customer didn't use other good kind of bag just to sell the cost. That's why even the small kind of sellers also mostly use single-use plastics just because of the less cost. So how to deal with the cost part of that sustainability or ESG analysis? Just like big kind of company, Tesla battery is also the water footprint is very high. So how to deal with the cost? So in terms of when we have to think about the environment. So as I feel that the main concern for normal public is the cost.
Yeah.
If we reduce the cost, then we can easily convince the public that you should
So thank you. Basically, what you need is a new business innovation models. I give an example. Batteries you raised, and they use, for example, there's a vanadium flow batteries, which are the large systems normally used for high energy required places. It's a large battery system. They use vanadium. So what currently the companies are doing is they go to the mines, get more vanadium from there. So I traveled with a delegation to South Africa before the COVID to buy a mine. And this is exactly the conversation with the CEO. The CEO said, "You came all the way, you want to buy my mine?" Because I approached through the friend, so it's a private conversation. He actually said, "You should not even buy the mine." I said, "Hey, you want to sell the mine and you are now telling me don't buy the mine. You're a great friend. I like that." He really felt from the heart. I asked him, "What is the solution?" He said, "You have a business innovation. You should do it." I said, "What is it?" Steel plants. When you make steel, there is a slag that comes out that has a lot of vanadium. All you need to do is talk to all the steel plants and say, "I will buy your slag, which you are throwing it away or making that into concrete. I will buy from you and give it to me. Then now you can take that, process it, produce vanadium. You sell it to the battery companies and say, battery life is 20 years. I lease it to you, lease this to you 20 years. You pay for it." So you're not actually buying, you're leasing vanadium from. After that, you go and give to the steel guys. They put in the steel and they make the steel. Then you actually are building a circular economy. And he said, you float a company and say it's $1 billion. Don't say 100 million. Business innovation. And he said, this is 10 times more than the mine you're buying. You'll have all the labor problem and all kinds of issues. Don't bother about it. Go and talk to all your steel companies, form a group, and come up with a new business innovation. So the question is, it's a new business innovations we need to think. And you would be surprised. Solutions can come. So the life cycle costing can be done, like life cycle thinking. We actually do the life cycle impact assessment, life cycle costing. There are methodology. They're not perfect, but you would be able to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Hi.
firstly, I'm very much impressed by your work and that's incredible. And my question is on sustainability in medicine. So we know bio-waste is like things like deadline. It's also a growing sector medicine. So how to incorporate sustainability into medicine?
Thank you. Looks like you kind of read my mind and what I do. I'm an editor for Current Opinion Biomedical Engineering. I'm a biomaterials editor. We are bringing a special issue on sustainable biomaterials. So in medicine, drugs will use lots of biomaterials, what we call excipients, and many of the medical devices have biomaterials. So what we are telling the community is we emphasize sustainability. For example, those who eat fish products. So there's a lot of fish scales from which you can make chitosan. If you're producing what do you call black soldier flies and those things which feed onto the palm oil plantation, you can actually extract lots of nice biomaterials. So they're sustainable. So now we are basically telling the world to move away from the fossil fuel derived polymers, plastics in biomedical sector, go towards these natural sources. But we want to change the thinking. That's why we are bringing a special issue of the journal. It's ready, it's coming. So if you are interested, you can write a paper and then demonstrate that you are interested. But the whole idea is we are thinking in that direction. Sustainability comes into that. But of course, there are limitations. It's not same as packaging industry. That's different. So biomedical sector has higher regulations. It's not so easy because when the human being is involved and anything you are putting associated with human health, it attracts the highest amount of regulation. So sustainability, when you apply to the biomedical sector, we have to be very mindful. The regulatory standards are much higher and stringent. So that's where we had to drive a better innovation. Thank you. Thank you. Well, conclude. Yes, I like to say it's extremely exciting. Very happy to be here. And now I see the director is also here to catch up on your enthusiasm as well, my enthusiasm. I feel proud, happy as an alumni of IIT, as well as IITMAA thought about this thought leadership seminar series, Guru Talks. And I think it's a way of bringing diverse views, share their knowledge, their views. I do not believe any view is perfect, including my own view, but we express it so that whatever that's there in between the 2 years, we say it and then let the world think, okay, that makes sense. And now I discard it. That's fine. It's okay. That's part of information sharing. And I'm very grateful that you gave me the chance to share whatever I know. So I hope I could express everything that I know. And I'm very thankful, grateful, and delighted. I wish you all a great future success. Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram. That was amazing. And I think the way you took the lecture from beginning to the end was very interactive and very interesting. Professor Kamakoti, thank you so much for being here today. We would love to hear you say a few words. Thank you.
Professor Seeram, I was always thinking that R is missing. Then I realized. Very proud to have you here. And Seeram is our distinguished alumnus and very highly rated person who had worked in the most interesting area of sustainability. Coincidentally, today has been a sustainability day for me. Since morning, I want to inaugurate one sustainability center for sustainability and energy transfer. And I know very little about chemistry, but they have used something called phase-changing materials. And what they have demonstrated today is in Murugappa Polytechnic in Navadi, just a few kilometers away from us, a cold storage room which can maintain between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade without the need of an air conditioner, meaning power, electricity, and also a full-fledged air conditioner. So what they have done is they have put solar panels, and basically during the daytime the cooler runs on the solar panel, and then they have put a PCM which actually stores the energy in the night. That PCM basically supplies, and they are able to maintain 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, and it can store up to 1 ton, and they want to expand it to 5 to 6 tons. And this, when we put in the rural areas, we don't need electricity, we just need solar power. And they have also shown that the lifetime of it is 10 years and it can go beyond 10 years. At the end of 10 years, it didn't fail. They have tested up to 10 years, right? So this is a live demo today. And the big effect that it will have is today farmers actually make vegetables, they grow vegetables. Within 2 days, if they don't sell it, right, then they go desperate mode. So 1 kg tomato, right? Have you all bought tomato? You all eat in the hostel, right? Oh, Samla, you should have buying tomato. What's the kg today? 75 rupees. They sell it for 2 rupees. Because tomorrow morning it will go off. So this, when we keep it inside, 7, 8 days they can keep. And finally you can sell it later. For that you don't need electricity, we don't need. And that is sustainability. Sometimes if you have to put refrigeration in every farm, right, we have gone. And more the sunlight comes, more will my AC work nice. So this is one part. The other part is they also have a dryer. Today drying is also one important thing. You grow the paddy. Tomorrow you want to actually, you harvest it. Tomorrow you want to sell it. Tonight if it rains, all your effort is gone. Completely gone. The 90, 120 days. So when we eat, no, every grain, it's the sweat of a farmer. You should all believe this. Okay, so don't waste any hostel food. Right? So the main issue is today they have made a dryer which can dry up to 40 degrees centigrade, and it's again solar, and it can keep. It's a hot room, so it can keep the temperature even during night. Again, they have used this phase changing material. What some God given big boon. So they have also given me one PCM base. I should have brought it here, where you can carry the vaccine at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade for 10 hours. Right? It's the same thing. They have put some PCMs there. You can keep it in the freezer and put it there, and we can carry. So many small things are coming today. I think it's a very interesting days ahead. Seeram, so my open invitation is we are forming a group for sustainability. Very shortly, if this goes very well, we've got at least 18 faculty now. It starts with water, energy, everything where sustainability becomes important. So down the line, I'm very confident that it can become a department of sustainability. And then we would like to, and interestingly, afternoon, uh, QS ranking, right? QS ranking, they are not going to come out with a ranking for sustainability. So every institute, they will be ranked on how well we are doing in the area of sustainability. So that is the very interesting development. So we had a team today who was describing how they are going to rate. They have some 1,000 questions. We'll all discuss and how many are IIT students? All of you are IIT. We'll all discuss sometime. Right. So so that is also, so afternoon was sustainability ranking afternoon for me, and that also, so world is looking at it in a very big way, and I'm sure we're very happy. I'm very happy to conclude today also with the sustainability stuff, and I think this is a very interesting field. I'm happy at least what 20-25 of students have come here. Hope next you will see 50, then 100, and let it exponentially grow. The interest has to grow. It's not just for, it's not just a study, right? It is something which the world is looking for. And we are assured some 2050 will become carbon neutral or zero. All this, we have made all these commitments. And how do we reach that? I think that's a very long way to go. Lot of research problems are going to come. And we look forward to very close interaction with you, Seeram. And I don't know, it was coincident or Shamala, you got this talk today. Very happy about it. Thank you very much for being here. We are equally proud. And guys, let us take this as a good beginning. Let us work more. I saw very interesting questions. One of the interesting, I have also an answer. What we have done in Tamil Nadu is, I think in India, if you put this solar panel, right, we can sell the electricity to the grid. And there are many houses in Chennai who are paying. See, they didn't say that if we produce more energy, electricity than what we consume, they are not giving back the thing. Right? At least they have made it zero. So a lot of houses in city, the total electricity cost is zero because they are contributing equal amount of electricity which they generate through the solar panels to the grid. So there's a meter, and then they subtract. So this is happening now. So somebody asked, no, how do we convince people to adopt solar, right? And within 8 to 10 months, right? Not 10 months, 24 months, around 2 years, this becomes break even. You don't need to invest on a battery; just goes into it. Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you, Shamla, for inviting me. And yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Very late.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sriram, for this amazing, eye-opening lecture. When I read his bio before I came to this session, I was just bewildered by the range of topics that he had on his, um, on his website and his profile. And I was a little bit tense because I'm totally a software engineer running my own company, and sustainability, biomedical, uh, molecules, nanotechnology. It all sounded so scary, but I think you just simplified everything for us today. And, it is such a great, grand start for us as IITMAA for an in-person event. So thank you, Professor Sriram, for each of your slides was so well thought through. You connected with us, and, you drive a very powerful message here today for us. And thank you, Professor Kamakoti. I think your presence has really elevated this session, and we can directly see that, I was just thinking in my mind that we have here somebody who's setting the score for the universities to be evaluated. And we have Professor Kamakoti here, director, and he just has attended a session. And, what more coincidence can it be? So, really thankful. Yeah, he's going to mark us and help us meet the mark also. We'll make sure he's part of us as well. So, yeah, what an amazing coincidence. And indeed, a big thanks to this wonderful audience. I mean, we've done so many events in IITMAA, all on Zoom over the last couple of years. Counting the number of YouTube views and how many, see, the good thing about digital is that people can consume as they want. It's not very easy for everybody to be here on 6 o'clock on a weekday, right? It's a nice thing that Professor Sriram's video is going to be there for people to consume as they wish or when they need. But it is also very nice for us to see some real human beings physically being present here and getting benefited by this. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for PALs. I would like to have a specific mention because you made sure that our conversations are reaching a much wider audience. Once again, thank you all for joining us today and making this evening such a big success.